Welcome back, chatterers. This is the second part of the video where I'm trying to pin down my mood. If you haven't watched the first part, it will be very confusing, so I suggest you go and watch that. I will put a link in the description box and hopefully on the screen as well. In this video, which is the second part, I will be ranking the 5 books that I've never read before by the first chapter, then the first 3 chapters, and then you will finally find out which book I decided I was most in the mood for right now. Happy reading!
My order based on first chapter.
So I think if I read these on a different day in a different mood, it could all be completely different. I am just going off what I feel most compelled to read as of now in this moment. And again, it's been another turnaround. So we're going to start from the bottom again. Mrs. Moore remains at the bottom. We just had this whole atmosphere set up. And it's very much kind of like the intrigue. We haven't met our protagonist yet. There's just kind of a lot of atmosphere and a potential movement of a body. A People's History of Heaven is now in 4th place. And again, it's not that the chapter was bad, it's very much that the others just suddenly produced and upped the ante of my expectation and interest. So I think City of Brass kind of maintained the same level. Not as much beauty as like the first chapters. I don't think it can be impactful. Paragraphs. I don't think it can be impactful like the same way over like a longer piece of text. Because essentially it's setting up the story. I'm not judging, the book should be judged as a whole, not just by the chapter, but this video is for me. So you get a little bit more about some of the characters we're going to start meeting and kind of their discussions in this moment. And then we kind of get this flashback to this image of what it's like for the sky to break. So it's beautiful, it's interesting, but the other books just gripped me more. So 3rd place, City of Brass. City of Brass just intrigued me. The top 3 I found really hard to organise, but I feel happy with how they are. So City of Brass, so much happens in that first chapter. And I think if I was really heavily into a fantasy mood, this would definitely just, you know, blow everyone else out of the water, because that's my vibe. And just the interest of what happens. So we have the kind of, what's it like, the con artist moment with the clients finding out a little bit more about them and a bit more about our protagonist, who is really intriguing. We get to see kind of like what her life currently is, the kind of the close people she has to her, how she's living day to day. And then we see her at work in a line of work that she doesn't usually do, which is kind of more of a seance-y kind of line and kind of like an exorcism kind of line. And but she doesn't really believe it. But then something happens that startles her and makes her question a few things. And so my intrigue is so heightened. Like, what happened? What's going on? What's the magic in this place? I need to know more. But Solitaire continued to give me the same feelings of this kind of like dark humour, this cynicism that we get from Tori, our protagonist. But then we also have a level of plot intrigue as well. There's like the start of this mystery is kind of like coming to the forefront of like this strange trail of post-it notes, which takes her to the IT suite, and this random website, which is also the title of the book, Solitaire, is discovered. And we meet, I'd say, our other main character in the book, Michael Holden, who is a very interesting character. I have read the Heartstopper books, and I'm up to date with Heartstopper. So I've met Michael in Heartstopper 5. So Solitaire happens between volume 4 of Heartstopper. You don't need to have read either one for the others, but that's the way I'm going into it. I'm also aware that this is a darker story as opposed to Heartstopper's Cozy Joy. So I had seen Michael, and so it's interesting to get to meet him properly and get to be seeing more of Tori, who I've always loved because she just appears and has all this wonderful older sister magic. I'm really getting excited to know her as a person. So I'm very, very intrigued. And it just got pipped out by Typhoon, of all books. Typhoon is currently top of my I want to keep reading. But I'm just going to stop at the first chapter. So we have all this intrigue about what Thalak, I divorce you, uttered by this old man who is the kind of like village leader, like judge person. What does that mean? Who got divorced? Who is this person he can see? Whose forgiveness does he need? And then we get these two women that have kind of got this sort of like gossipy vibe that are being asked to go and find this woman whose forgiveness he wants. And they have these things they need to return to her. And there's a sense this woman was greatly wronged. So I now need to know what happened. I'm sucked in by the drama. I thought it was going to be too dramatic for me. I thought it was going to be like I thought it was going to be eye roll, not my cup of tea. But no, I am really compelled by Typhoon and I want to know what happened. So it's my first spot, which I'm entirely shocked about. So there we go. Will it stay there as I read the 3 chapters? You will find out.
To recap, after the first chapter, in first place we have Typhoon, followed by Solitaire, and then we have City of Brass, A People's History of Heaven, and then bottom of the pile is Mrs. Moore Goes Missing.
So I have now read all the first 3 chapters for all the books. This is not the order. This is just me having the books on the side. And you are going to find out if the order is different. I'm going to talk you through each book, explaining why it has placed where it is, and reveal what the book is I am actually going to be reading.
After the first 3 chapters, the placings are: at number 5, in 5th place, Mrs. Moore Goes Missing. In the next few chapters, we are finally introduced to our protagonist, Zofia Tobochniska, and she's trying to raise her social standing with organisations and support charity events. She's an entertaining character, not necessarily be likeable. We're introduced to the main plot of the story, going to Hercule House, where Zofia is in search of raffle prizes. Finding the nuns disturbed and frantic and the Mother Superior out, Zofia decides to interview the servants to find the misplaced guest that's caused all this kerfuffle, Mrs. Moore. It does feel very fun and enjoyable, but it's quite a slow pacing, and it's not got the levels of excitement and instant readability of the other books and that same character connection. But I will enjoy looking forward to reading it at some point, but that's why it's ranking bottom of the pile for this one. At number 4, in 4th place, A People's History of Heaven. In the next chapters, the friendships of the girls really shines through. We learn more in particular about one and her life, her parents' life, and things that they've all done together. And it really gives you a sense of this place and what all these people mean to each other. I do really want to keep reading this, but it's placed 4th just because I just don't have the same level of like intrigue and excitement. And I think that's very much kind of the mood I'm in right now. I just want to be sucked in. And I do think that I will love these characters and cry for these girls, but I'm not ready to deal with those emotions yet. Number 3, in 3rd place, is The City of Brass. The magic Nari encountered in the first chapter escalates to the point of threatening her life, and we get some high-stake action scenes, and then are introduced to a mysterious character who has theories about Nari's past, and this starts linking up to this secret world of legends. There's a big sense of secrets not being told, and of politics, law and history we are yet to understand about this place, and we are just about to go and see this mysterious city. I am really hooked. This is exactly my cup of tea. I want to know more. I want to keep reading. And if this was which book can you only ever read out of these 5, this would be in top place. But I get to read all of these books, and it's what do I want to read right now? And I'm not quite ready to throw myself into a new fantasy world that I think will consume me. So I'm not ready for this one yet, which is why it's placing 3rd overall. Number 2, in 2nd place, the one I nearly read is Typhoon. The village gossip characters who I love become more excited in the next few chapters as people of the past gather for this funeral or deathbed scene. I'm very intrigued to see what happened as we meet some of the key players. And then we start flashbacks of 20 years ago, and the scene setting for the dramas occur, and I am waiting for the fallout. And I just need to know what happened, who's been wronged, can it be put right? I just need to know. So if I was just going off the first 3 chapters, this would be second place, pipped out by City of Brass, because I need to know, I need the intrigue, but as a fantasy reader, that one will always make me want to read more. As of right now, I definitely want to know all these things. I definitely want to read it, but it has just lost out to the next book, because as much as I want all this intrigue, I do want a little bit of cozy comfort as well.
So in first place, the winning book that I will read is Solitaire.
We continue seeing Tori at school and how awkward she feels in these social situations. We get to meet her friend Becky and see their relationship. We get to see her family set up and what that looks and feels like for her. I really like the nice safe space she kind of feels like with her brother Charlie, who knows Michael, this new character she's just met from school, and tells her to be a bit wary. Again, if we were just going off the first 3 chapters, this would actually place in third behind Typhoon and City of Brass, just because if this was the last book I could ever read, I just would need those other ones' questions answered. It's not as much intrigue, and I need to find out and see what happens levels on here. But because I can read all of the books, this is the one I'm most in the mood for at the moment, and it comes in at first place just because the vibes are really relaxing for how I'm feeling right now. I'm not at school and I don't have to deal with school life, so I quite enjoy hearing about it from other people. I really like the family setup. I'm very intrigued as to how that kind of all comes together and is explored. I have a great connection to Tori, and I just want to see how she gets on in life and just kind of hang out with her. So that's why this is the first place book overall.
So I did end up reading both Solitaire and Typhoon, and I'm not going to go into too much detail about them because I will do that more in my wrap up where I have more time, because this is a short video. It is short. So I think I have been correct in both my initial judgment of the synopsis but also in my final decision of what I wanted to read. So Solitaire I did love. It gave me what I needed. I've always been a massive fan of Alice Oseman's writing anyway. I love YA contemporary. I don't mind pop culture references in my books. I just wanted to be in this Heartstopper world because I love how Alice Oseman deals with relationships. I found it really healthy and soothing. It was really nice to kind of see the first book that she wrote and see where it had come from. And then I did then just have to pick up Heartstopper because I just didn't want to leave. And also I just needed some cozy warmth afterwards, because it does deal with mental health. It does deal with kind of like being in like a dark place. But I just had it just spoke to me and it comforted me, which is a weird thing to say when it is kind of a dark book, but it felt safe at the same time, and like it's okay to feel your feelings, and it didn't fully go dark, but it is a much darker book about mental health than Heartstopper is, and I love that Alice Oseman kind of writes that at the beginning. But I loved reading this book, and I'm so pleased that I have the lovely copy that is hardback with the sprayed edges, because I love books that I love to look as beautiful as possible. Typhoon, again, I do have to say I love the covers for these books. The artist, James Nunn, I think the art book is brilliant. This I actually found out was a companion novel. This is second in a trilogy of companion novels, and they all have this similar artwork of sort of a central figure sort of turning and looking away, surrounded by clothes, lots of fabric. I don't know what this, it is like the dress, I'd say, more than anything else. Anyway, I was very compelled by this book. and there are aspects of this book that I did really enjoy. But the overall feeling behind the book is this is not a book for me. I'm very aware this was written 20 years ago, and certain aspects that I like in my books and around feminism, I felt weren't quite there. But considering when it was written and the topics that it did deal with, I think I can understand why people find this a really important book and why it's a really kind of more of an eye-opening book. But it is very dramatic, and I learned a new word because I did manage to watch the Shelter Box discussion about this book, and histrionic, which means like dramatic hysteria, overly dramatic about something. It was very that, but I think that's also because I think it leans quite heavily on that kind of drama side that is appreciated, and it is there is a lot going on, and like I think I really enjoyed kind of like the exploration of the village and the people in the village and how everyone knows everyone's business. And I think that's something that you can relate to regardless of, you know, what culture you are from, that people always like to know about other people. We are drawn to other people we like to know, and just kind of the downside of gossip. Like, I loved it in this. I loved how messy it was at the beginning, but then as we kind of got on in the story, it felt too much. How was I going with this? I've ended up talking about the book, which I wasn't intending to. I can't keep it brief. But yeah, I have a lot of thoughts on this, which is why it was really helpful to have to be able to go and find back the discussions and things that were had on it, because I enjoyed kind of the gossipy village characters and kind of the sort of like the social commentary and comedy kind of side of it, but I didn't enjoy so much how dramatic the dramaticness was, and certain character choices felt very annoying, and I can see the point it was making about certain things, but it just wasn't in a way that I would appreciate necessarily. So whilst I'm pleased I read it and it was very compelling to read, it's not going to be a favourite for me. It's not my style. I don't necessarily enjoy, although this is historical fiction really, there are some bits that are set in present day, and like I don't necessarily enjoy adult contemporary that much. I much prefer YA contemporary, and I think this is another reasons why like I find myself just getting annoyed by characters' decisions and choices, and I'm like, stop making it, just talk to each other and stop making everything into a drama. Whereas I don't mind my teenagers being dramatic. I think that's, I don't know why that is, but there we go. So yes, this was really fun. I would definitely be up for doing it again. I had a great time working out what to read. Hope you enjoyed it as well. Please leave me a message in the comments, and I will see you again soon. Happy reading.